Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tips. My name is Julian, and today we're going to be talking about players that you can add to your team to help you win Week 10 of the Fantasy Hockey schedule. Before we get started, guys, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I would really appreciate your support. Without further ado, guys, let's take a quick look at the upcoming Week 10 schedule. Now, this coming week, guys, there are 3 teams that only play 2 games. Those teams are LA, Toronto, and Vancouver. So if we have any low ownership Kings, Leafs, or Canucks, you can probably drop them for this week. Guys like Yafalo or Hoglander, and add someone else who's going to get you a few more games. That will help you win this week. Now, almost every single team has 4 games this week or 3 games, but almost all 4 games this week. So 2 is really not a lot. Whereas there are 3 teams that have 3 games on off nights. Those teams are Anaheim, Montreal, and New Jersey. The off nights this week are Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Those are the days with less games. So if you can stack up on teams that have games on those days, well, your chances of winning the week is going to go a lot higher. If you see the schedule logo beside any player with a little 3 inside, it means that they play on 3 off nights. So basically they play for Anaheim, Montreal, or New Jersey. Later in the video, guys, you'll see a lot of pickup suggestions from these 3 teams. Now, first on the list, guys, is Carter Verhaeghe, Florida Panthers, 50% owned, and this is probably the last time I will be able to have him on this list because his ownership percentage will go over 50%, and I can't feature him on this list anymore, but he's been great. His chemistry with Barkov this year has been awesome, and he's been shooting the puck a whole lot, so he makes for a pretty great ad. Next is Pavel Buchnevich, New York Rangers, 50% owned. And this is also the last week I'm probably going to be able to have him on this list. I think I've had him every single week of the season so far. The dude's playing with Zibanejad, and Zibanejad has finally woken up, it looks like, and the Rangers are starting to produce, and Buchnevich is putting up points left and right. Seems like a pretty good time to add him to your team. Next is Matt Zuccarello, Minnesota Wild, 47% owned, and the dude's on an absolute tear. He's on a really fire line with Kaprizov and Rask, and he's top power play too, so his opportunities are there, and he should continue to produce. I know he laid a pretty big stinker on Saturday, being a -4, but everyone in Minnesota was not very good against Colorado, so don't take that to be Zuccarello's norm. Next is Rickard Rakell, Anaheim Ducks, 44% owned. He's got that off-night schedule this week, which is great. And he had a 4-game pointless streak, but last game he ended up getting 2 assists. And now Anaheim, I think, has been a little bit rejuvenated by the arrival of Jamie Drysdale. They all looked a whole lot better last game, and there's a good chance that the Ducks as a whole might play a whole lot better just because they're a lot more motivated with 2 young guys really, providing a lot of energy for that team. Drysdale and Zegras. Regardless, though, Rakell is a great addition to your team for this week because he has a great off-night schedule. Next is Jaden Schwartz, St. Louis Blues, 40% owned. He's finally back from his injury. He's playing on the top line with Braden Shen and Tarasenko, which is really great. He's only getting second power play time, but in his first game back, yeah, he didn't record a point, but he got 4 blocks and 4 shots. It's a pretty good first game back, so good things should be happening for Schwartz in the near future. Next is Kasperi Kapanen, Pittsburgh Penguins, 39% owned. He had some awesome chemistry with Malkin and was doing very well. Now, Malkin is injured. So, yeah, that might diminish his fantasy value a little bit. But at the same time, Kasperi Kapanen has now been promoted to the top power play, which significantly increases that value. So, I actually really like Kapanen as an ad, even though Malkin is injured. Next is Max Comtois, Anaheim Ducks, 30% owned. And he's another guy who's on the Ducks, so I like him this week just for that off-night schedule. Yeah, he's been a little bit cold, but I think he should turn it around. The dude's just too good to stay as cold as he has been. Next is Jonathan Drouin, Montreal Canadiens, 21% owned, and I also like him a lot this week for that off-night schedule, but he also gets top power play and gets to be on a really great line with Suzuki and Josh Anderson. He's not a guy that's been scoring a lot this year, but he has been pitching in a lot of assists and makes for a pretty good ad. Next is Kevin Labanc, San Jose Sharks, 17% owned, and he's been insanely hot lately alongside Evander Kane. He's playing on the top line and on the top power play, guys, so he makes for a pretty decent streamer as long as he can stay hot. Next is Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Montreal Canadiens, 10% owned, and I like him for the off nights. Once again, he gets third line time, but let's be real, Montreal's third line is no ordinary third line. Tyler Toffoli, their top leading scorer, is on that line, so it's pretty good. I know Toffoli's injured right now, but I don't think it's going to last too long. So Kotkaniemi should be a pretty decent streamer, and he also gets second power play time. Next are two Anaheim Ducks center-left wingers, Zegras and Henrique. Both 8% owned, and they're both doing pretty well as of late. I think Zegras is starting to really find his groove in the NHL, which is really, really great. And Henrique's been really hot lately. So either way, both these guys are really great for that off-night schedule this week. Next is Calle Jarnkrok, Nashville Predators, 5% owned. And I don't absolutely love him, but over his last 4 games, he's got 7 points, and he's really, really playing well right now. You can grab him for a couple games until he cools off. He's not that great of a player, but as long as he's hot, stream him a couple games if you really need to in a deep, deep league. Next is Dylan Dubé, Calgary Flames, 4% owned, and he's playing on the top line with Tkachuk and Lindholm. That's pretty good. He's also producing a decent amount, and he's shooting the puck a pretty decent amount. Dylan Dubé at 4% makes for a pretty great ad in deeper leagues. Next is Travis Zajac, New Jersey Devils, 2% owned, and his line is still super, super hot. I had recommended him in last week's ad video, and I'm recommending him again, especially since New Jersey has that nice off-night schedule once again. Him or even his line mates Kuokkanen and Sharangovich are all doing pretty well. So if you're in a deep, deep league and you need someone for those off nights, well, those guys make pretty decent additions. Last but not least is Victor Rask, Minnesota Wild, 1% owned, and he's playing on that line with Kaprizov and Zuccarello. I do get that he has not been doing as well as those two guys, but he's still on that line, and he's not doing too badly, and he's also getting second power play time. So if you're in a really deep league, he's a guy that should get you a point every couple of games or so. Next is Josh Morrissey, Winnipeg Jets, 44% owned, and over his last 4 games, he's got 4 points and has been shooting a good amount. He's a guy that people love to add when he's hot and love to drop when he's cold. But the reality of the situation is he's been getting the same opportunities all year long. He's been on that Winnipeg Jets top power play. As long as he's there, he's someone that you can continue to have on your team for the rest of the season because the opportunities for him to get points are there. Next is Matt Grzelcyk, Boston Bruins, 43% owned. He's got 5 points in his last 6 games, and he's playing on that Boston Bruins top power play, and he's shooting an insane amount. You want to add him to your team now before it's too late because being on that top Boston power play is a treat. Next is Matthias Ekholm, Nashville Predators, 41% owned. What did I tell you guys? When Josi and Ellis went down with injuries, I said, well, Ekholm's the last guy in Nashville. He's going to get a lot of power play time, and his points should start going up a lot. And guess what? He's playing absolutely great right now. You can add Ekholm to your team, and even when Josi comes back, Ekholm should continue to put up the points. Next is a guy that a lot of people may not be expecting to be on this list, and that's Ryan Suter, Minnesota Wild, 35% owned. Now, Suter has not been that great. Over his last 11 games, he only has 1 point. What's good for Suter is his plus-minus. So if you need plus-minus, Suter's actually been pretty decent. Obviously, this last game is not an indicator of how Suter has been the entire year. His plus-minus has been good. He hasn't been shooting as much as I would personally like to, but he is now playing on Minnesota's top power play, and they kind of stack their top power play now. They've got Fiala up there, they've got Kaprizov, they've got Zuccarello, and they've got Eriksson Ek and Suter. So that's a pretty good power play. So, you can pick up Suter and see if that power play gets some traction over the next few days. Hopefully, it does. Next is Rasmus Andersson, Calgary Flames, 30% owned. And I get that he was ice cold for 6 games. He did not get a single point. The last game, he managed to put up 2 assists, and he continues to skate on the top Calgary power play. At this point, he will always continue to be on that Calgary top power play. So he's a really good ad to keep on your team for the rest of the season. I get that he's a little bit cold, but he has the opportunities and should put up the points. Next is yet another Anaheim Duck in Kevin Shattenkirk, 27% owned. And over his last 7 games, he's got 7 points, and he's doing quite well. I think the whole Ducks team seems to be turning it around just a little bit. They're putting up some points, which is, nice to see. And Shattenkirk is someone that you can definitely own while he's hot. Next is Philip Hronek, Detroit Red Wings, 27% owned, and the dude has been playing insanely well. It makes me so happy to see because I absolutely love Philip Hronek. He's basically the only defenseman on Detroit that's worth anything. The dude has 8 points in his last 5 games, so as long as he stays hot, he's definitely someone you can add to your team because he does get a lot of power play time. Next is PK Subban, New Jersey Devils, 25% owned. And prior to the game on Saturday, he had 3 points in his last 3 games. He's actually doing pretty well playing on New Jersey's top power play. He has a total of 14 points in 28 games. Obviously, that's not old school Subban, but that's not too bad either. A guy that's going to get you a point every 2 games for a defenseman, that's pretty good to have on your team. And he shoots a good amount as well. Next is yet another Anaheim Duck with Jani Hakanpää. 16% owned, and he's been doing really poorly offensively, but the dude's 3rd in the league in hits. So if you're in a hitting league, he's someone that's definitely worth picking up, considering he's also putting up a pretty decent amount of blocked shots. Next is Adam Boqvist, Chicago Blackhawks, 15% owned, and Chicago's a little bit cold as a team right now, but he's still getting that top power play time with DeBrincat and Kane, which is pretty valuable, especially in a points league. Next is my must-add of the video, Jamie Drysdale, Anaheim Ducks, 15% owned, and I've had him on my NA spot all year, and I'm so happy he's finally playing for the Ducks because the dude looked so good in his first game. He notched a goal and an assist, which was awesome to see, and he's getting top power play time in Anaheim, so it's not like it was just a fluke. He got a decent amount of ice time, so the Ducks are letting him play. Last but not least is Mario Ferraro, San Jose Sharks, 4% owned. He's a guy who also hits a pretty good amount, and lately he's been shooting and blocking an okay amount too, and he's put up a few points lately. So if you're desperate and in a very, very deep league and you need a few hits, a few blocks, a few shots here and there, well, you could do worse than Mario Ferraro. Next is Ilya Sorokin, New York Islanders, 48% owned, and at this point he's starting about every second game for the Islanders, and he's playing absolutely great. He should be over 50% owned. Next is Cam Talbot, Minnesota Wild, 46% owned. And at this point, it looks like Minnesota is going to be splitting the games between Talbot and Kokkonen pretty evenly. And they're both pretty great goalies. Talbot is a very, very easy pickup and should get you a good amount of fantasy points. Next is my must-add goalie of the video, and that's Juuse Saros, Nashville Predators, 38% owned. And since coming back from injury, he's played 2 games, and he's let in only 2 goals on 87 shots. That's utterly insane, and he's looking absolutely great. He's looking like the guy the Predators hoped that he would be. Next is Jake Oettinger, Dallas Stars, 36% owned, and he's starting pretty much every game in Dallas right now. I don't know what's happening with Khudobin, but Dallas doesn't seem to have a lot of confidence in him right now. So as long as Oettinger is getting a lot of the starts, well, he should be on your team. Next is Jack Campbell, Toronto Maple Leafs, 28% owned, and he played pretty well on Saturday night. Now, Frederik Andersen has not been playing well, so Campbell might start seeing a little bit more starts in the future. Now, the Leafs only play 2 times next week, so I'm not saying you absolutely have to grab Jack Campbell, but he's definitely someone to keep an eye on. Next is Alexander Georgiev, New York Rangers, 25% owned, and Shesterkin remains injured, so as long as Shesterkin remains out, Shesterkin owners should have Georgiev to get the starts that he's missing. Next is Cal Peterson, LA Kings, 23% owned. And I don't know how not more people are seeing this, but he's been one of the best goalies in the league this year. And he doesn't play for a very good team either. Well, LA only plays 2 games this week, so he'll probably only get 1 of those games. So he's not super, super valuable. So you don't absolutely have to go out and grab him. But please keep an eye on him because he's a great goalie and he's been playing very, very well. Next are Antti Ranta and Adin Hill, Arizona Coyotes, 15% and 6% owned. And the reason I'm suggesting both of these guys is because Arizona has 4 games next week, but 2 of them are back-to-backs. So if you do own Ranta, you might want to also pick up Hill or vice versa because they're each going to get 2 games next week. Next is Scott Wedgwood, New Jersey Devils, 4% owned. And Blackwood is injured right now. So as long as he's out, if you're in a really deep league and you need someone to replace him, well, Scott Wedgwood is actually playing pretty well for the Devils right now, so you can pick him up. And last but not least, guys, is Ryan Miller, Anaheim Ducks, 2% owned. Anaheim has games on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday this coming week. Wednesday, Friday, Sunday are off nights, and Gibson is currently injured. So as long as Gibson is injured, Ryan Miller should continue to see pretty much every start, which is nice. I get that Anaheim isn't the greatest team in the world, but if you are desperate for a goalie and you're in a very, very deep league, Ryan Miller isn't the worst idea in the world. All right, guys, you've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I really appreciate it. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, ask me a fantasy hockey related question. I'll be happy to answer you. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.